Hello. Welcome to podcast number 7 of The Normal Intuitive. And do you know when you have one of those days that just doesn't work out the way you want it to, or a couple of days? Well, that's kind of how it's been. So I wanted to try and record this podcast live on Facebook. So I tried with my computer, and I needed to update the browser extension. And then I tried to do it on my phone, but the podcast recording app froze when I went back and forth between Facebook Live. So unfortunately, you cannot see this live today, but I wanted to share with you Abby, who, if you are on my personal page, you'll know that one of my dogs and my other dog got into a little kerfluffle last night. And unfortunately, my newest rescue, Abby, needed some stitches this morning, and they had to sedate her because she is a rescue. And she's very, very scared, and so she was freaking out. So they had to sedate her, and they gave her some nice stitches, and they gave her the rest of her shots that she needed, which was fantastic. But anyway, so she has been following me around like a little lamb all day, and she's just kind of chilling as the anesthesia wears off, and they gave her something to help her with the pain. So she is feeling good. I'm assuming kind of like pot for dogs and, catnip for cats. That's how Abby is, but she has been just hanging right by my side. And what's interesting is that Abby, when I'm downstairs for reading, sometimes I'm upstairs in my office, sometimes I'm downstairs, depending on where my kids are. Isn't that how it goes, moms? Like when you're trying to get some alone time, you try to go the farthest point away in the house that your kids are. And I don't purposely do it, but the more I think about it, the more I see that I really do try and get as far away as I can from my kids. So like right now, I'm in their playroom, but the door is shut and my son is watching TV in another room. But anyway, so Abby usually hangs out with me during the readings when I'm downstairs. So mom confession, well, despite the fact, I guess the mom confession would be that I lied to my kids and I told the kids that the dog did not get stitches because they were freaking out before they went to school. And I told them that the doggy didn't get stitches, but she just has a nice little Band-Aid around her leg. And I had to do it because they were freaking out. And in fact, my 4-year-old son actually had a crying fit at preschool, and I think because he was freaked out about the dog, but instead he accused a teacher of yelling at him. So when I got to preschool, I got called into the teacher's office, which is never a good sign as a parent. Like you never want to be the one that's called on the phone by the teacher or gets the email. You never want to be the one at pickup that the teacher's like, "Can I see you?" Because it's never ever good. And I'm just like, what did he do? And he apparently accused another teacher of yelling at him. And then he cried for 10 minutes and took a nap. So that's my 4-year-old son. But he was just very upset about Abby. And so to make things better with him, we just had to say she just has a Band-Aid, but she's fine. And she's just a little sleepy all day. So that's my mom confession. And once again, I really don't have a plan for this podcast. I really wasn't going to do a podcast, which is, same old story. But I felt this need to do it after I chatted with a couple of people over Messenger and just like what's happened in the last 24 hours in my life. Before I forget, by the way, I am the Normal Intuitive. I have a website, one-question.net. That's one spelled out. I'm also on Instagram at the number 1 question at a time. And I am a normal intuitive because this is my life. I am a mom of 2 living children. One we lost about 5.5 years ago. I have 2 dogs, both rescues. And I have 2 cats, also both rescues. So it is a full house. And I'm not even going to tell you the square footage of my house, but let's just say it is not enough space for 4 animals, 2 kids, and a husband. Who, let's be honest, sometimes you feel like your spouse is a kid based on how much laundry you're picking up. But I don't want to bash on him too much because when I asked him to mow the lawn this weekend, because finally this grass is growing, and you up north in New England and Washington and all those northern states know what I'm talking about. It's like finally the grass is long enough to mow, and I don't want to do it. So at least he'll do that. So moving on there. So, okay, this is kind of what's happened is I have been busy all week with readings. And yesterday I was chatting with a client turned friend, Andrea, and I was telling her how I just felt weird because today, the following day, I didn't have any readings. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And she's like, well, why don't you practice some of what you preach and practice self-care? So I was super looking forward to self-care. And then this thing with the dog happened. But before that happened, I did a question for someone over the internet, hence the one question. She emailed me and I answered her back. But to be honest, I had gotten done with a reading in the morning, and as I was just telling someone else, when I am involved in a reading, I am all in. I am all in with you. I'm feeling the emotions you were feeling. I am all in with empathy. I really am with you. And so when I get done with a reading, I generally need some time to just let that emotion go, because I'm taking all of that emotion that you have, that you're struggling with, I take that on myself and I kind of pull it from you, and I try to, and I really, hopefully I start letting healing take place. And sometimes it's better than others, especially how willing you are to heal. So yesterday, unfortunately, I didn't take as much time, I think, as I needed before a question. And I answered this woman's question. And, well, first of all, she wanted me to connect with Spirit over email. And I told her that I do not do this over email because there's just too many details that people that have passed on want to know. And I mean, think about it. Think about if you haven't talked with your friend in 5 years. You're going to have a lot to say. You're not just going to be like, oh, hi, and oh, that pink coat, it's in the garage in the box over by the side. They're not just going to give you the information you want to know as far as those really specific things. No, they're going to want to let you know that they love your kids and, hey, what's up with that new haircut? They're going to have a lot to say. So I never, ever, ever connect with Spirit over email. And I very rarely will do it in readings shorter than a half an hour. I really try not to, because it's just disrespectful to the whole process. So anyway, so she wanted to connect with Spirit. And then she said, okay, well, it's, well, if you can't do that, can you just answer this question? And I was like, sure, I can answer the question. But again, I don't think I was as focused as I needed to be. I was still kind of feeling the effects of the reading, which is fine. That's what happens. And I answered her. And looking back, I definitely should have spent more time. But I went on with my day. I had kids to take care of. I had lacrosse practice to take my daughter to. I had dinner to make. You get it. It's life. And unfortunately, the answers I gave her were not up to her expectations. And instead of responding and saying, hey, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, this is where I'm at, can you be a little bit more specific? Or kind of kindly say to me, hey, I'm not really getting the information that I need from you. She instead, as kids would say now, put me on blast and wrote me a 1-page diatribe email about how horrible a psychic I was. And of all of the psychics she's ever talked to, she's never spoken to one as bad as I am, and that I was contradicting myself, which isn't true because she was misunderstanding what I was saying in the first place, but that's not here nor there. Anyway, she just said horrible, awful things to me. And I get this email and I just was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I cannot do this. Like, I'm not going to accept being, all of a sudden I had all of this emotion. And what's really interesting is that yesterday, and what I was talking to Andre about, is I was having like a panic attack. I just had this really horrible feeling all day. It was really weird. After my first reading, I just started getting this really horrible feeling. And I did not understand where it was coming from. It was like panicky, like it was like a panic attack. And I had no idea. And that's why Andrea originally said, maybe you just need some time to yourself. You need some self-care. And I was like, that's probably it. But I just had this horrible feeling. And when she emailed me back, just this ugly, ugly emotion, all directed at me, I just felt all of that crap. And it made perfect sense why I'd been feeling like this. But first of all, I number one, I did not deserve the things that she said. And B, it's expectations that set you up for failure, my friends. And it's on us. We have expectations with our parents. We have expectations with our spouses. We have expectations with our kids. And it's all on us. We choose to define whether or not we're satisfied or not. We choose to define if something is meeting our expectations or not. I remember when I was young, I used to always get so disappointed at Christmas because it was like all this buildup for Christmas, right? You get, all these holiday things and you do. And I was raised Catholic, so we had this, beautiful midnight mass. And then we wake up on Christmas morning and, but then it's over. And then, or maybe I didn't get the gifts I wanted or whatever it was, but I would always feel so disappointed. And then I realized that it was me. I was setting it up. So if I really just didn't expect much, I wasn't going to feel that level of disappointment. And I try to do that not just with Christmas, but I try to do that with everything. I remember when I got published on Scary Mommy about 6 weeks ago, I remember my therapist really cautioned me about expectations because I thought this blog on Scary Mommy was going to blow up my website and blow up my Facebook page. And I was all excited. And I'm glad that my therapist checked me on it because it turned out like no one really liked my page from the blog, and which was disappointing, but I'm glad that before that I had been like, okay, I'm just glad that I was published. It was an honor to be published on a national scale, but having those expectations will get you every time. And if you get one thing out of this podcast today, it's really modify your expectations with your children, with your spouse, modify your expectations about how the day is going to go, and then use pronoia and actually change it around and say, this is what I love to do on Mondays, is today's going to be a great day. It's going to be an awesome day because everyone thinks Mondays are going to be horrible or Wednesdays, hump day. No, today is going to be a great day. And when you think that the universe has your back and the universe has your best interest at mind, then things will turn around. But if you expect bad things to happen, bad things are going to happen, folks. If you think you are worth nothing, you are going to surround yourself with people that treat you like nothing. But you notice that really happy people, they surround themselves with happy people. They surround themselves with positive people because light attracts light. But if you continue to have these low expectations of yourself or your work, then you're never going to achieve any more than you expect yourself to achieve. So for instance, with this podcast right now, I'm not doing anything professional. I am recording on headphones and on my phone. But if I wanted to modify my expectations and say, you know what, I want this to be a bigger success, I want to reach more people, then you have to make money. You have to invest money to make money sort of thing. And maybe I would invest a little bit more and maybe that time will come. But you have to do things like that, where if you want yourself to be successful, set yourself up for that success. And then put those expectations on yourself. Know what you can accomplish, and then you can set reasonable expectations for yourself. So for instance, if you're in sales, pick a number that you know you're not going to reach, but have, the best month ever, an okay month, and the minimum. And that way you're not disappointed. I actually heard that advice about racing. I'm a runner. And as far as finishing times, you pick the best day ever when you're rested and ready to go. Your middle number is like, I'm feeling really good, but maybe I have a few twinges. And the lowest number, and it's always a low number that no matter what, if you're dragging your feet across the finish line, you can achieve. That's always, so you never are disappointed in your own life. And you can do that with anything, not just with racing or sales. You can do it with your spouse, you can do it with your children, and you can find a way with your expectations to modify them and make sure that you don't have those feelings of worthlessness or sadness because something didn't go your way, because you will have those different levels that you can just go on. I know that it's hard to have no expectations. I think it's very natural and perfectly human. It's human nature to have expectations. I expect that I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. I expect that I am going to eat dinner tonight. These are all, some of these things are very much normal, and that's okay. But it's a way of just modifying what we think and also changing our opinion about ourselves. We are lovable, we are worthwhile, and we deserve good things to happen to us. So this morning, it turned out that my dog needed to go to the vet. And I was actually really frustrated this morning because I was looking forward to me time and I was probably just going to sit around and do nothing. And I was looking forward to that. But I called the vet right when they opened and they could get me in right after my son got into preschool. And it ended up working out absolutely perfect. pronoia, my friends.